Hey y'all, it's Michael, and today I'm here to do another read, reading, random, repeat video. So, a book that I currently just read was The Inexplicable Logic of My Life by Benjamin Alire Saenz. This is my second book from Saenz that I have read. The first one is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, which I read a few years back and I loved and enjoyed. I thought that was such a great novel in general. I really loved it. And so going into this book, this was the book for my young adult book club that I attend. I was really excited because I was like, oh, this is a second book by him that I'm going to be reading. And unfortunately, I really did not like this at all. This is a story about Salvador. It's a coming of age story of him just growing up and living life with his dad, who, well, he's adopted, and his two friends. God, so disappointing, so disappointing. The one thing that I did like is I really do enjoy Saen's style of writing. It's very, I don't know how to describe it exactly. The main thing I didn't like about this was just like how everything is just happens and that it falls into place, and it's like everything just, it's so perfect in the way that everything just like snowballs, and how the story progresses, it just fits so perfect into this like one little bubble. It's one of those things where I do enjoy like a little bit of messiness and a little bit of like, I don't know if messiness is the word, but everything is just so perfect with this novel. Everything was perfect. Like, something would happen, and yes, it would be a sad situation, but then something would happen afterwards that it would like be like, oh, I mean, it wasn't that bad in that type of way. And there were some events in the story of how it's told that I really had no connection with them, and it's this like these huge events that's supposed to be really big in someone's life, but I had no connections whatsoever with, even though all of these bad things kept happening. And usually like I love sad stories, but this one was sad in a way that was just too perfect in my opinion. It was, everything was just like perfectly falling into place, too perfect. Yeah, and yeah, I don't have that much to say about it because to be honest with y'all, I really didn't like it. I gave it 1 star on Goodreads, but it's more of like a 1.5 if anything. It's not the worst book. It's not the worst book I've ever read, but to say I liked it, I don't know if I can really say that, so yeah. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the books that I am currently reading. So, obviously I'm reading books for my 365 days of Read So Lit reading blackout, so check out that video. On book 2, the next video will be about book 1, the first book that I finished on that list. So currently right now I am reading, besides the manga, I'm still reading the Decameron by Giovanni Boccaccio. I am reading 1 story every single day, and there's like 100 stories, and I'm still chugging along. I'm on day 6 right now, which is surprisingly like the shortest stories, because day 6 involves like wittiness and like smart quickness, so all the stories are really short, but surprisingly, I'm really liking it. I'll talk more about this book later, but it's really interesting reading it as a 2018, like a modern reader, because some of the stuff that they say, I was like, oh, I don't know, but then some of the stuff was like really funny. But yeah, I'm gonna keep chugging along, and I'm quite liking it. And then the other book that I am currently reading right now is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I will talk about this book. Trust and believe. It is so hyped right now. It's like the book that everybody and their mama is talking about. Like, my coworker knew about the book I was reading, and she's not like a hardcore reader like I am. So I'll talk more about it. I definitely have some thoughts on it. So yes, now something random that I do want to talk about, that it's a podcast. I just want to talk about this podcast first because I just finished listening to it, and I believe it's finished now because this was the finale, and it's good. Like, it's really good, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. So this podcast is Atlanta Monster. Oh my god, incredible podcast. This is from the same people who did Up and Vanish, which I've heard about Up and Vanish, but I've never actually listened to it because there's a lot of episodes. But Atlanta Monster, so going into this, I was like, oh, they have some, like, Up and Vanish is one of those podcasts that I've been hearing so much about, like high praises. So I was like, oh, they created a new one, and I can keep up with this one because I just started. Atlanta Monster is incredible. It's about back in the 80s, in the 80s in Atlanta, there was what they were calling the Atlanta child murderers. So all of these black children were getting murdered. They were getting kidnapped, and in Atlanta they were getting kidnapped and murdered, and they were all black. This really shook the city, and it got nationwide news, like nationwide coverage. And there are a lot of books fiction and nonfiction about this incident. Even like Tayari Jones made one of the books. This podcast is so fascinating, and there are things that I didn't know about. I was like, whoa, really? And it is so interesting. Like, I highly recommend it. The ending, I was like, ooh, the ending made me reconsider what I thought it was presenting in the first few episodes. I was like, so is this like it really makes you think, and I'm really interested because, like, once all of these more even tips and more calls are coming in, it's solved, but it's not really solved. So I would highly recommend it if you're into true crime. There's, I believe, like 12 episodes, a little bit more, but it's so good. So yes, if you read any of the books that I mentioned or listened to Atlanta Monster, let me know. Until then, we'll repeat this again. So bye!